Hey everybody, and welcome back once again. Whether you're watching live or archived, today is January 8th, 2019. If you're new to this channel, we talk about the language of Gematria, and often, especially lately, we discuss what may or may not be part of the real organic matrix that we're apparently living in. And, for those of you with open eyes, and for someone like myself who actually set out to prove this study wrong to begin with, it's very clear to see that there is something going on when we run the numbers behind the letters in names, cities, towns, things of that nature, and compare them with dates on the calendar. So let's start off by explaining the language of Gematria if you do happen to be new to this channel. And if you're not, bear with me, because I know I go through this every single time. But it's important to understand how simple this language is. We start with English ordinal in the top left. In this cipher, each letter is numbered 1 through 26 relative to its position in the alphabet. So for instance, the word English has a gematria value in ordinal of 74, E the 5th letter, N the 14th, G the 7th, and so on. Here we're talking about the language of Gematria, which also has a numeric value of 74. This practice is simple, 74. It originated in Hebrew, which was the language of the Jewish faith. The name Jesus equals 74, so does cross, Messiah, the story of his crucifixion told in the gospel. The list goes on. And just think about this nation's Independence Day. On July 4th, written 7/4, using the reduction method, where each double-digit letter is reduced to a single digit using the rules of numerology, Independence Day has a value of 74. Both of these methods can also be reversed, and these give us complementary ciphers that we call reverse ordinal and reverse full reduction, but this study is based in the alphabetic order and reduction methods. So when you pay attention to not just the gematria of words or phrases, but also the numbers aligned with dates in the calendar, we'll take a look at date numerologies and also date measurements. You find that something very strange is going on in this world, and it's my contention that the federal government, which is based in Scottish Rite Freemasonry, a society which is based in the Kabbalah, where numbers are of extreme importance, and this gematria that we're talking about is a practice of the ancient Kabbalah. So today we're going to talk about this Amber Alert that was put out today for a girl named Angel Tomow, or Tomow, also known as Angel Madash. And we're going to talk about whether or not this was a real event and if there's certain government abuses taking place. You know, if you go and ask a random person, flat out, do you trust the government? Very, very rarely will you get an answer that's just flat out yes. But people become really uncomfortable when you ask about things like this, where, is it possible that the government's abusing a system which should be as honest as the Amber Alert system? Let's begin by typing out Amber Alert. Today, on my phone, I'm a resident of Milwaukee County in Wisconsin, so I got this. This is a screenshot from my phone, and we'll talk about the numbers behind this in a second. But first, we begin with the phrase Amber Alert. Using the alphabetic order, Amber sums to 39 and Alert sums to 56. This gives us a numerical value of 95 for the phrase Amber Alert. What we've discovered is that these ordinal gematria numbers can then be converted to a date, and when you measure to that date, you get very interesting alignments. So here on my date calculator on gematrinator.com, if we measure from the date September 5th, which is written 9/5, to the date of this Amber Alert, we find it was exactly 125 days ago. This alert took place in the state of Wisconsin, and in the alphabetic order, Wisconsin equals 125. The name of the girl that went missing on New Year's Eve is Angel Tomow, and here you find her name sums to 125 Also, using the same cipher, simply the alphabetic order. What you'll also notice is that Angel Tomow sums to 44 in reduction. Just like Wisconsin, the state from which, or in where she lives, she's from the town of Shawano, Wisconsin, which happens to sit on the 44th parallel north. If you look up Shawano's coordinates, the GPS coordinates. So speaking of Shawano, or Shano, as it's probably pronounced, I should know, I live in the state. Notice how using the alphabetic order, Shano sums to 81. January 8th, as it's written in most parts of the world, is written 8/1. But here in America, January 8th is written 1/08. Well, using the reverse alphabetic order, where Z is 1, Y is 2, X is 3, all the way through A is 26, Shano sums to 108. Again, just like today's date. We can also abbreviate Shawano, Wisconsin, WI, the state code for our state. In the reduction methods, Shawano WI equals 41. So does the phrase Amber Alert in the same method. And what's also really interesting is how the name Amber sums to 39, 21, and 96 in the reverse order. The name of the girl who went missing in this Amber Alert is named Angel, who also sums to 39, 21, and 96, the same three numbers and the same three ciphers. What really stands out is the number 21 in the reduction cipher. Some people call this the most pure cipher. Today's life lesson number, 1 plus 8 plus 2 plus 1 plus 9, gives us 21. And would you believe what time this alert arrived at my phone today? 2:01 p.m. And in numerology, these zeros can be dropped. This number reflects a 21, and we'll look at an example of how this works also as we go on. Another significant thing to understand about this study is the importance of prime number relationships. When we look at 21, we find the 21st prime number is 73. There's another very significant cipher that I study in, well, all my work, but I talk about in all my videos as well. This is called Jewish Gematria, and it's based in the original Latin alphabetic order. This cipher produces much larger numbers, structured more closely to the Hebrew Gematria and Greek isopsephy charts. And the name Angel in Jewish Gematria, check it out, equals 73, the 21st prime number. We're going to keep this cipher cracked open because we're going to look at a couple more alignments here. But before we do, let's look at the entire city and state, Shawano, Wisconsin. Once again, it appears that the numbers we derive from Gematria can be converted to dates, and we measure to those dates and get relevant numbers. So we're going to do that once again with Shawano, Wisconsin. Using the alphabetic order, we get the number 206. And to be realistic, the only date you can pull from this number is June 20th. Most people don't write February 6th, 206. So for logic's purpose, we'll go with 20/6, or June 20th as it's written internationally. Well, if we measure from June 20th to the date of this Amber Alert, we get a span of 6 months and 20 days with the end date included. And how interesting is that? 6 months, 20 days after the date 6/20? So that's one alignment, but what about the reverse alphabetic order? Here, Shawano, Wisconsin sums to 226. This can be converted to the date 2/26 or February 26 as it's written here in the United States. So let's see what happens when we measure to February 26th. First off, we get 10 months and 13 days measuring from last year's 226. If we look at next year's 226, we get 1 month and 18 days. Both of these numbers very relevant to this story. Consider how Wisconsin sums to 118 in the reverse order. And here we're talking about an Amber Alert. Amber equals 118 in Jewish Gematria. As for the 10 months and 13 days, When abbreviated, Shawano, Wisconsin sums to 113 ordinal. The name Tomow sums to 1130 in Jewish Gematria. These Jewish Gematria and English ordinal ciphers, very much related. This whole language based on the mathematics of the circle. If you want as much evidence as you can that this language is constructed around the mathematics of the circle, just search my video for basically English circle. You'll see what I'm talking about. But this phrase sums to 666, and 6 times 6 times 6 is 216. So, this is something we discover all through language and sacred geometry, the mathematics of the sun and the moon, and so on. But let's not get sidetracked. Let's stick with the numerology of this story, because I'm probably throwing enough numbers at you as it is. Next, we're going to look at today's full date numerology, the one I have listed on top on my date calculator page. 1 plus 8 plus 20 plus 19 equals 48. This stands out for one reason. The state of Wisconsin, where this story takes place, was established in 1848. In particular, it was established on the date May 29th. Now, if you measure from May 29th to today's date, when we get this news story, you get 224 days. Why is this number interesting? Well, the Amber Alert, remember, was for a girl named Angel Tomow, but she was also known as Angel Madash. So when you type both of these names in, you get 224 in the alphabetic order. Again, once more attributing dates on the calendar and durations. But let's go all the way back and measure to the date that Wisconsin was established in 1848. With the end date included, we get 170 years, 7 months, 11 days. So as I said earlier, as this text message here was a perfect example of, we talked about why 21 is significant to today's date and this story, and I got a text at 2:01. Well, in this case, we're going to be dropping the number 0, so we get the number 17711. And you probably don't know this. I'm not sure why I did to begin with, but 17711 is kind of a special number. It's a Fibonacci number, the Fibonacci sequence of utmost significance, and something that's featured on my numbers calculator page. So 17711 is the 22nd prime number, or Fibonacci number, excuse me. The name Tomow sums to 22 in reverse reduction, but what's also interesting is how Wisconsin Route 22 is the main road that travels through Shawano, where this story takes place. And call it a coincidence if you will, but check out how Fibonacci equals 44 and 55 in reduction. Wisconsin equals 44 and 55 in this same method. There's a couple more alignments here. You can check out my post on this. But, this is the kind of thing that makes you question whether or not the government, who now has given themselves the ability to, send alerts directly to our personal private phones at any time, if this is being abused for some reason. And I can't explain why the reason would be. But things like this are very suspicious. And again, what we talk about on this channel is what is being manipulated by people and what is actually part of the organic matrix. And when it comes to sports, I really want to know because, there's so many things that line up by the numbers. And, if I were to gamble on it, I would tell you that a lot of these games, if not most or all of them, are rigged to some extent. But when you look at this field goal from the Chicago Bears game against the Philadelphia Eagles, a couple things really stand out. One being that it looked like one of the Philadelphia Eagles players got a hand on the kick as it went to the uprights. So even if there's magnets in the ball, how is that even possible, right? It seems to be just very interesting stuff. And there's a number of plays that happen where I would be more impressed if they were rehearsed than if the games were just real, So anyway, what I wanted to talk about in regards to this playoff game is, well, for one reason, I did think the Bears were going to win, but I wasn't really confident because I thought the numerical alignment was actually too strong. Using the alphabetic order, Chicago sums to 46. This playoff game between the Bears and Eagles was their 46th all-time head-to-head matchup. And the game was played on a date with 46 numerology, 1 plus 6 plus 20 plus 19. And if you look back at the last time the Bears played the Eagles, it was exactly 406 days before the game. And these 46 alignments are nothing new to the Bears. The Chicago Bears have only ever won one Super Bowl for the 1985 season. That was the season that they had that famous 4-6 defense. They won the Super Bowl with 46 points over the Patriots, which sums to 46 with the S exception. And their coach, Mike Ditka, was even 46 years old at the time that the Super Bowl was won. So I thought to myself, well, it really looks like Chicago will win, but usually the riddles are a little more complex than this. So all the rage about the game afterwards was how Cody Parkey missed the field goal. And check this out. Cody Parkey, born on February 19th. Look what happens when you measure from February 19th to the date of the game, January 6th. You get exactly 46 weeks. What are the odds of this? Chicago wound up getting knocked out of the playoffs. With the S exception, playoffs equals 46. Because this field goal, which sums to 46 in the reverse reduction method, hit the uprights, which sums to 46 in reduction. So the 46 was something I noticed before the game, and then all of this developed, and it just seemed really weird. Also consider that the game ended 16-15, meaning there was a total of 31 points scored in the game, and when you write out 31, it also sums to 46. More alignments that really point to the fact that the NFL may be a lot more rigged than you think it is, perhaps even years and years in advance. I think there's many people who follow my work who would argue it is. Again, I just throw the numbers out there and let you be the judge because sometimes I just really have no clue what's happening. So thanks to everybody again who jumped in the live chat and contributed as the video went on. I always appreciate it. Helps to show that this work does have support. Remember, please like, share, subscribe. This content has faced censorship. You know, it wasn't until my own channel got deleted where I really began understanding that there is something much, much greater to what we're uncovering here. And I think it's interesting enough that more people should be looking at it because these numbers definitely are operating in our lives as well. All right, everybody. Thanks again for watching. Have yourselves a great night. Peace.